We are doing the first of a series of talks asking some questions that arise, we think, from the plays that we've programmed this summer. And the plays look at those questions of how we live alongside one another, how we deal with difference and what intolerance feels like. So the plays raise some tough and important questions that seem relevant 400 years later. This first one is looking at whether or not the arts, in the broadest possible sense, are really reflecting or questioning the status quo in this country. Are the arts male, pale and stale? I'm a bit of an optimist, so I think they're not just that, but it's an important question to ask whether we are reflecting the diversity of the United Kingdom in the work we make in the arts and reaching the diversity of the United Kingdom in our audiences. The important thing is that we get an opportunity to hear a range of voices. We've got a fabulous panel of people that work in different aspects of the arts and also represent different communities in the arts. So I suspect we'll get some quite feisty views about what we're getting right and wrong.
It's a complicated subject, but the fact that it's been posed here is really healthy, I think. The other Stratford, the Stratford I run, is in East London. There are over 160 languages in our primary schools. It's a very different kind of world to what's here. I get very angry that with over 40% of London defining itself as non-white, when you look at that statistic and then you look at what's happening in some of our national institutions on the South Bank, you very rarely get that kind of statistic either on stage, backstage or in the audience. If you're going to be a national institution, you need to serve the complete nation.
Everybody's really worried that it's, male, pale and stale, but nobody's brave enough to do something about it. There are organisations, theatre makers and dancers and spoken word poets that are creating art that's very diverse, but is it being recognised? If you ask me, are the influencers male, pale and stale, I'd probably say yeah. If you ask me, are the artists, I'd say no. Because I think the artists now, especially, I come from Birmingham, so it's very diverse, there's loads of artists and I come across them daily and I can see a few in the audience. When I wanted to do poetry and explore the spoken word scene, I was one of the only spoken word female Muslim in Birmingham. And for me, that was, where do I go, what do I do? Now, I host nights every first Thursday. When I say when you walk into that room, status, class, nothing is there. You've got from middle working to higher class, you've got everything in the same room, diversity, every single culture, and they're like body to body because there's no space in that room to listen to raw poetry.
But last night I came to see The Merchant of Venice. I just want to jump up and go, yes, because Nadia is in it. Nadia is an actor who has one arm and one half arm. She's an extraordinary actress, but she was told many years ago by one of the establishments, darling, with that arm, you will never come on our stage. You will offend the audience. So how dare that director undermine the sensibility of an audience? We have moved a long way, but there's still a lot to be done. Our society is so closely diverse, and that has to be on stage. It has to be. I've been saying the same thing for 25 years. I think we have to do that rather than sit in gab.
Through my career as an artist, I have been supported mainly by women, actually, mainly by female curators at the V&A, academic writers who are women, and curators in other countries. But the visual art world is very much run by an Oxbridge-educated male elite. It's sort of a boys' club, and it is that commercial art world is very concerned with art as investment. It is the establishment, completely and absolutely, and it really wants the status quo. It is in its interest to keep it. And I think that visual art is really a sort of plaything of the hedge funds. This is a poster that I found in a shop, and it's made by the Empire Marketing Board in 1927, which I was kind of shocked that it even existed. And I made a piece of work from it, but it very much made me think of this image. So I wondered, have things really changed in those 300 years since those original empire builders, the likes of Cook and Livingston, and here we are. Ta-da!
It was a really great morning. It was a very, very interesting discussion. Brilliant panel, obviously. But I really liked how many of our audience talked about how the Stratford audience want to see and enjoy seeing more diversity. So that was very encouraging.
Because we were assuming that they didn't want to see work or diverse work, but actually that's completely off the ball. It was us assuming they didn't want to see it.
it's important to maybe just try things out, experiment with things, and it might not always work, but it's important to always, as always in the arts, to take risks.
It was a lovely crowd, lovely diverse crowd, and also it had young and old people there. So also the conversation went from high art to populist art to big organisations to small ones, and that made it really interesting.
The audience are actually now ready to see real change and real action on stage rather than just talking about it. I think they're ready.
Yeah,
You know.
I do, absolutely.